It's me. It's me, Stormy. We're playing the letter, and we're about to have a date with Ash. I say date, but it's in quotes, because, Becca just won't say anything to him about her little crush. Anyway, I turned down, a possible date with Luke, which I don't want to call it a date, but, he's flirting with me, so, who couldn't? Flips hair. Anyway, his car's headlights have been turned on, illuminating the otherwise empty parking lot. If it's like that, this is probably going to be a quick visit, although our landlady would probably have a few hundred words to say about this before letting it go. Not many in this complex own a vehicle anyway to warrant the space's frequent use. Owning to this area's proximity to downtown Luxbourne. No one's going to be disturbed if one car stays parked with its lights on for a few minutes. Right now, though, it serves as a pleasant company while I idle inside my own car, thumbing my invitation's fine print, flipping it over and over until the motions become familiar enough. What should I say? How should I say it? There's a very high chance he'll say no, but on the off chance he accepts, what should I do? Fears. Doubts. Questions I haven't asked before, and more often than not, the anxiety is because of him. 17 years ago, I've been in the same position, a different letter in hand. Oh? Somehow nothing has changed. Perhaps if he'd noticed how I've always felt about him years ago, I wouldn't be in this predicament. Yeah, maybe if you, told him. Honestly, he managed to ace all those exams at school without even lifting a finger, and he couldn't figure this out.
How dense can he get?
But I can't very well wait for another 2 decades just for something as measly as an invitation, can I? It's not like it's gonna be a date. Although, frankly, I wouldn't mind if it is. However, that's a wish best reserved for some other time. I won't get anywhere if I just keep thinking about the what-ifs. Gathering all my thoughts and courage, I step out of my car and gingerly make my way upstairs, invitation in hand. Ever since the incident 3 years ago, there's a strange air permeating the atmosphere here. Weighted, but the sort that slowly trickles through you, until the burden of it finally bogs you down with some kind of disquiet. The days since have been uneasy, and Isabella's absence from her flat does not help settle it. Every day coming home somewhat feels like an uphill battle in itself, leaving you spent when you're supposed to be getting some rest. Is Zachary experiencing the same thing? I certainly am. The same weary slump is also on Ashton's shoulders once I catch a glimpse of him. He's leaning casually on the rails, his back against the metal surface, while reading through a bunch of papers. Each one appears more important than the other, despite me having never read a letter of it. He'll probably head back to the precinct after this, if he's not going to drop by Zachary's for a bit of shut-eye. No rest for the wicked. But no matter how occupied he seems, he pauses anyway, and looks up from his work the moment he hears my treads. He raises a hand in a greeting, as a small smile spreads across his lips. In spite of what happened, I can't help but return it to him. Somehow I can never seem to stay angry at him for so long.
What brought you here?
He hums something inaudible, neither an answer nor even a vague hint, before he turns his attention back to the papers. For a passing second, I thought he was going to ignore or evade the question, like every single time I've asked. But then he shovels the documents back to the binder and sets it aside with a huff. It sounds more fatigued than I've heard from him recently. Either way, there's simply too many things to keep him busy at once, or his investigation isn't going too well. Maybe even both.
Just work.
Just work? Do you expect me to believe that?
In a way. I didn't think an important contact ditched me and now I'm stuck would make for a cool alibi. Did it work?
As if there's going to be any difference. You're still a dafty. Anyway, do you want to come in?
My question about them that I've been having for ages is, she was raised here and they're childhood friends, so he was raised here, but he doesn't have an accent. And I've been very curious as to why that is.
But if you're going to hang around for a bit, you better turn those headlights off. My landlady's one hairline away from banning you off this place, you know? Stop taking the piss out of her. She's a nice woman.
When she stops taking the piss out of Shirley, maybe I will.
You and your bloody car.
Shirley? Shirley? The first time I've heard that name, I did a double take. Yeah, me too. From the way he put it, it was as if he was talking about some woman he met somewhere, surprisingly got along with and grown fond of. Never mind how impossible that is, knowing his lack of interest for people outside of our small circle. Honestly, it sent a surge of panic in me. It lasted for days, until he proudly introduced me to his new car. His car.
Hey, it's a nice name. Don't laugh at it. You'll hurt her feelings.
The more you say, Ash, the more I'm just like, please stop talking. God damn it.
I'm gonna have to give that offer a pass, though.
Nothing unexpected, but admittedly, I'm hoping he'll stay for a few minutes. Suddenly asking him to accompany me to some housewarming party is starting to turn into a bad idea. If he can't even be bothered to spare a second of his time to his friends, what more if he has to stand some hours in a room full of strangers?
I need to get going. I just dropped in to check on something, and...
His words trail off, cut mid-sentence on purpose, leaving it for me to comprehend the rest of it. At the same time, his eyes shift, momentarily towards the door closest to us. Isabella's unit. Eerily quiet, now in her absence. The instant his lips curve into a small frown and his shoulders tense, I know work is far from his reasons for being here. Being all too aware of the idea alone summons another dull ache straight into my chest. Like every other time, every single moment, he affords her attention, he can never seem to spare others. While it is a worry better left for a different situation, it twinges in my heart nevertheless.
What is it?
Nothing too important. Though I did drop by the hospital this afternoon. I met Belle's aunt, by the way. You never told me she's arriving today.
It's a mere observation, a passing comment, if you will. Maybe under different circumstances, I might have accepted it for what it is. Perhaps if I haven't heard him pour his heart out that night, it'll simply be what he means against my ears. But he has no idea. Not even the slightest inkling how his words carry a ring of accusation in my mind. A beat of it in every utterance, closing it tightly around him, intense and keen. As if I have deprived him of something so precious. Even without her warmth and cheer here, I still can't seem to win. Because if he himself holds on to it, to her.
I don't have to report everything to you, do I? Besides, isn't that already a given? We can't be with Isabella all the time. All three of us have other responsibilities. It's better this way.
Her aunt's just one woman too, Becca. She won't be able to handle this on her own.
I wasn't implying.
I know, but... Look, I talked to her. It's all right. If anything, she's relieved. She had no idea who to ask for help. In fact, she wants to see the three of us, if we can all visit tomorrow morning.
Well, you certainly didn't waste any time getting friendly with her family.
He frowns, a look of genuine confusion spreading across his face, though the moment doesn't last.
Is that... a problem?
Oh no, not at all.
No, but you have something on your mind.
By all means, just do your thing. You surprised me, that's all. Last time I saw you, you still weren't so keen getting chummy with people you barely know. Amazing how fast someone can change overnight, isn't it?
Her aunt needed assistance, Becca.
There's no lack of things to add to that. All of it will likely be born out of the hollow ache in my chest. I can go on for hours if I want to. But then in the next second, almost unexpectedly, his tone changes. Kinder. Warmer. Still nowhere near the one he used when he spoke to her that night, of course. This will never come close to it. Hearing him like this, however, it's easy to forget his heart's already set on someone and realize how petty this is getting. Since when have I become so low? Since when have I...
Is something bothering you? You've been like this since the film fest.
Just like that, remains of my anger melts away. Almost like a betrayal after carrying it around on my shoulders for days.
Having another bad week?
Maybe. What is it to you? Don't expect this to turn into a heart-to-heart just because you made a few assumptions.
Okay, I get it. You don't have to tell me. No need to snap at me. Must be the weather. But whatever it is, don't let it get to you, alright?
Damn, I was playing with a tiny little rubber band, and as soon as he said snap in the last sentence, the rubber band snapped. It scared me a little bit. If only it were that easy. But I present him a smile nevertheless, half-hearted as it may be.
Don't worry. This is nothing a cup of tea or a good book can't fix. I'll live. Somehow.
Right then. If you're sure.
He doesn't seem convinced. In any case, he doesn't push it, and changes the topic just as quick, for which I'm glad. Ooh, excuse me. I have no idea what else I may end up saying in case he pursues it.
So, tomorrow? Will you be able to make it? Just for a few hours?
Can it wait until the weekend? I already took a leave this Tuesday. Can't afford another one or two, especially with exams this close. Is this anything urgent?
No, not really. But the doctors plan to ease Belle out of the coma tomorrow. Her aunt said we could be there when they do, and I thought...
Hang on, what does that mean? Is she okay now?
They won't know until they've lightened the sedation.
He leaves it at that, his words brimming the same uncertainty plaguing us for days. Behind those, however, is a single note of optimism. One I don't fault him for having, because suddenly, this news, no matter how small, is the closest thing we have to hope right now. I can't say the same for me, however.
I won't promise anything, but I'll give my supervisor a heads up and see where it goes. Does Zachary already know?
Not yet. I'll drop by his apartment on the way back to the precinct. If anything comes up, you know how to contact me. I'll see you tomorrow, Becca.
Ashton squeezes my shoulder, light as he can, before stepping away and heading straight for the stairs. His way of offering comfort in the middle of this little mess we found ourselves in. But amidst all this, a tiny voice at the back at the back of my mind nudges at a memory, something I've forgotten, and the very reason I've chosen to return home early today. He's made it 4 steps down when the realization kicks in, and awareness of the envelope I've been holding returns to me. Panic rears before proper words can form, I can think about the situation. Not a second sooner, I'm calling after him.
Ashton, wait!
He halts, one foot already down another step, when he turns to me raising an eyebrow in question.
Yeah?
And of all times, in this moment when I falter, the adrenaline from earlier's panic suddenly recedes. All of a sudden, none of the things I've prepared to say will take form. I'm caught between simply forgetting about it and blurting it out while he's hoping for the best. Which, should I even? No, of course I'm gonna ask him! Because that's the boyfriend. We're gonna romance Ash. There's nothing wrong with trying, I suppose. Not even... Would he know anyway? Because, like, it already established that he was at the... I was gonna say the ball. It's not a ball. The housewarming party. I'm not gonna lose anything if he says no. Which, frankly, he has a very high chance of happening than the opposite. Though the thought still doesn't prevent heat from crawling to my face and sending my heart racing. It's better to get this over with before my throat closes up and I lose my nerves.
Tomorrow afternoon. Do you have time?
A small frown is already on his face. I already see where this is going and what he's thinking from that alone. Yet, for some mullish reason, I continue, hanging on to the tiny glimmer of hope he'll say yes if I present an argument good enough for him.
That depends. Why?
Well, you see, someone sent an invite for a housewarming party, and I thought you might want to...
Rebecca, I'd rather stand on the messy end of a gunshot. You know that.
I know, it's just... You're one of the few people I can count on with things like this.
That's cool. I appreciate the thought. But really, Zach's a better companion. Gatherings like that just aren't my cup of tea.
Dude, put up with it for your friend. Come on.
It did cross my mind, you know. If he isn't busy with his freelance work, I'd probably ask him too. Actually, you two would have been spared if Isabella was here, but...
Why not just skip out on it? The world's not going to end if one guest doesn't show up.
Trust me, I'd love to. But I promised Mom I'll be there.
Still can't say no, huh?
Like you're any better. Besides, the person who sent this is an old friend of Mom and Dad. If it's important to them, why not? Though, who would have thought, huh? The famous Evans heir used to be tutored by my parents. Apparently, we also met before.
Wait, who?
Evans. Hannah Evans. Well, she's already married. She goes by Hannah Wright now. Remember the couple who bought the mansion Isabella's selling?
The same people?
As far as I know. Unless I misread their address, or there's another Hannah Wright in this city that we don't know about.
Let me see that.
Without warning, he walks closer and takes the invitation off my hands, gently but with the same force of urgency in his voice. I don't know what he finds in it, but his eyebrows draw together as his eyes scan through the little lines of the text printed on the small piece of paper. His hold on the envelope tightens with each pass, and by the time he's finished reading, his mouth is formed into a thin line.
You never mentioned this.
We met just once. Or at least, that's what Mum told me. Honestly, I can't recall anything from it. Otherwise, I would have told you about it.
The fact that as soon as she tells him, like, oh yeah, by the way, I beat the shit out of Luke Wright with a book, and also my knee to his dick, like, Ash is gonna be all over her, like, oh my god, babe, I can't believe you did that. He hums something inaudible under his breath, all while thumbing the paper, staring at it as if doing so proffer him answers to every unspoken question in his head. When he gleans nothing from it, he merely folds the envelope back into its form.
All right. I'll go with you.
What?
I'll go with you.
Damn.
That shouldn't be a problem, right? Unless you've already made up your mind about asking Z-Man.
No, I told you already the guy's busy. Why would I bother him for this when I can go alone? But what about your own work and...
I can make time for this. 3 o'clock, yeah? I'll pick you up an hour or so before.
Woo! We got a date! My head reels, less from what this implies, more from how easy it all seems for him, how fast this turnaround is. He's already halfway down the stairs when any semblance of sense returns to me, and I can finally string 2 words of protest together. Yet, all of this dies on my tongue when he shoots me a small smile. He disappears from view seconds later, his footsteps gradually fading as he descends the stairwell, until all I can hear are my own shallow breaths and heartbeat, loud, pounding hard against my chest. It is only after I'm standing alone in my room, minutes later, that it sinks in. He has taken the invitation with him, but beside that, more than that, he has also accepted mine. Calling this happiness is a complete understatement. For now, looming thoughts of the mansion and that woman lay silent at the back of my head. Ooh. The night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strange sort of stillness, unlike the ones greeting me at every morn. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. It hangs in the hallway, it lingers in the empty unit next to mine. It follows me even as I head out, carrying the same little hope I saw in Ashton last night. I just wish I could easily believe in it. Now we're back. It takes a minimum of 21 days for a habit to form, or so claimed a speaker in a conference I once attended. Yet it only takes less than 3 for the hospital's sterile scent to lose its sharp odor. Perhaps less than that for the nurses to start glancing at me with an air of familiarity, for my body to know instinctively where I should head to. Which turn to take, how far it is from the nearest stairwell, approximately how many steps until I reach her door. 30 to be exact, but I've honestly stopped counting sometime during my second visit. At some point, even the faint beeping of her room has also grown oddly comforting, as well as the scent of oranges that continuously wafts from her room. A strange thing to seek reassurance from. Things like this, however, is all we have. Isabel is lucky by some miracle, by some sheer force of will she holds on and pushes back, just as death pulls. How long will that last, though? Even now, she's still a hair's breadth away from losing that struggle, and no matter how promising today might be, the doubt still runs deep. At least for me it does. Sometimes it's better not to hope too much. Although both Zachary and Ashton don't seem to be in the same mind, with the smiles that each greet me the moment I arrive. The small part of me accepts this meeting to be awkward with Zachary here, after he saw me in such a pitiful state. But that's what friends do. But it is him who first offers me a seat. If he remembers or still has an opinion about what happened 2 days ago, he makes no mention of it again, likely out of some sense of courtesy. I suppose this is how we'll keep it together for now. With moments filled with superficial smiles and lukewarm attempts at cordiality. Sorry, I can't.
How is she?
Oh, ha! That's the scariest jump scare of them all. Oof. The question, at least, is anything but half-hearted. As if spurred by it, Ashton looks up for the first time. He does so since the brief welcome earlier. His eyes have been glued to the room nearest to us. Its door usually... God, oh please, I gotta read. Its door only slightly ajar, offering everyone outside nothing but a sparse look at what's inside. All I see in it is uncertainty, yet he stares at it with something close to hopeful. Like doing so will summon another miracle from the depths of near impossibility. Bloody is all over his face, long before his voice breaks the silence.
Doing okay so far. They've reduced the sedation hours ago, but it'll take a while before we know anything for sure.
The Ashton I know will never subscribe to that kind of false hope. If there's anyone present here who would be, it's Zachary. For reasons no longer unknown to me, he does it anyway.
The nurses are just monitoring her now.
He gestures with his hands towards the door, just as one of the said nurses moves past inside.
Her aunt's not in there, though?
Nah, she's speaking with the doctors right now. She'll be back in a few.
She didn't say anything before she left?
Don't know. I arrived just when she stepped out. You're gonna have to ask Ash about that. He came in here hours before I did. She was talking to him about something.
Is that a joke? Ashton arrived earlier than you did?
Yeah, miracle, ain't it?
I'm sitting right here, you two.
A peal of laughter follows his remark, despite ourselves, and in the mess of a situation, immediately the mood around lifts us, if only a little. Zachary also begins to peel an orange as we're sitting there. I must be stopped. The oranges must be stopped. I doubt it'll shift back to normal entirely, not when there are still a great number of things we're intentionally leaving unspoken. Amazing how simple this is, though, pretending everything's the way they used to be, with only a few words.
We ain't the only ones, though. Bella would probably have had plenty to say about it, you know?
She wakes up at 4, Zach. Every day. That's inhuman on so many levels. Besides, none of you can even get out of bed at 6, so get off my case.
That's better than me getting up at noon.
If Isabella's got a problem with my morning habits, she can complain about it when she's out of coma.
When, not if. Now of all times he chooses to be like this, decides to forego all the hard truths to chase after one light at the end of the tunnel. Despite Zachary's reassurances days ago, I'm not foolish enough to carry an expectation as heavy as that. Knowing that she has the chance and taking comfort in the idea is one thing. Clinging to it and blindly believing it might be improbable is another.
You don't sound too worried about this. Didn't the doctor say there'll be no guarantee?
Can you just let the guy cope, like, in his own way?
This is just to see if she's improved. That still doesn't mean she'll get better.
Yeah, well, it's not like there's anything we can do about this. She's already there, we're already here. I'd rather not lose sleep over this if I can help it. I've got other things to worry about.
All lies. If he truly believes that, he won't be raking a hand through his hair after that remark. I've seen him do it more times than I can count to know he only does it when he's frustrated. If this truly hasn't already weighed on him, the lines of his shoulders won't have that tired slump, nor his voice will have that exhausted lilt. It has all been there since this started. It's not going to disappear anytime soon. Because if there's anything all these years have taught me, it's that Ashton hates losing anyone, both in figurative and literal sense. It happened with his mom, it happened with his dad, and with her like this, on the brink and teetering between life and death, he'll try everything to keep her. You think the world would be much more forgiving once people like him starts thinking in such a way. But it's a harsh place still, and sometimes as good as the notion is, there are things that are simply out of our control. When it reminds us of it, it does so brusquely, in the form of another voice piercing through the dense silence in the hall. And with that, we'll hear the voice next time. You couldn't see me, but I put my hands up in like a, huh? Huh? You guys impressed with my segue? It's okay, it was bad. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and goodbye!